Recently, something very interesting happened to me and made me think deeply about identity and change. The truth is that your actions do not automatically follow your identity. In reality, your identity is what accompanies your actions. I'm going to illustrate this for you, and I'm sure many will recognize themselves in this scenario. Imagine a person who decides to adopt a healthy lifestyle. This person goes all out, right? Buy expensive equipment, share your new routine with everyone, and even invest in impeccable workout clothes. But typically, what happens after 3 weeks? They return to their old habits. This brings us to a fascinating question, and I want you to think about it with me. Why does this happen? What I noticed is that they tried to change their identity immediately, almost forcibly, and that's a key point. Identity doesn't work like that. Think of your brain as an investigator. He's always watching your actions, not just your words. Every small gesture sends a message. This is who I am. If you do something once, the brain sees it as an isolated event. Twice? He begins to notice a pattern. 3 times. That's where the magic happens. The brain says, wait a minute. This must be part of who this person is. The secret is to start incredibly small, almost ridiculous. Something so simple it seems silly. For example, if you want to be a reader, don't do as I did once and declare, I will read 50 books this year. Instead, start with something simple. Read just 1 page a day. Just that. Let me show you what happens in your brain when you do this. It's fascinating. On the first day, your brain registers. Interesting, we read today. In the second, when repeating the action. Another page, we're doing it again. On the third day, something changes. Wait a minute, are we becoming readers? This is what I call the identity cycle in action. It's really beautiful in its simplicity. Small, consistent signals shape your self-image. And when your self-image changes, these actions begin to seem natural, further reinforcing this new identity. There's no need to resort to willpower or make grandiose statements. It's just small, strategic actions that lead to significant changes. This approach works for any change you want to implement. But here's the challenge. You need to start smaller than your ego would like. Much smaller. Your ego wants drastic and quick changes. Your brain, on the other hand, cries out for consistency. And in this dispute, based on my experience and observation, the brain always wins. Chapter 1. Brain, Plasticity and Change. Your brain is constantly changing, and you have the power to decide how it will change. Impressive, isn't it? Think of your brain as a garden. Every thought you have, every action you take, every habit you repeat are like trails being formed in this garden. When you walk the same trail over and over again, it becomes clearer, wider, easier to follow. It's like the path I take to the coffee machine every morning. Believe me, that path is well worn. But here comes the most curious part. Your brain doesn't distinguish whether these trails lead to flowers or weeds. It just does what it's designed to do. Oh, we use this path often. Let's make it stronger. This is why my brain automatically knows the way to my favorite coffee shop, even when maybe I should be heading to the gym. Remember how we talked about small actions shaping your identity? This is exactly why this process works. Every time you take a small action, and I mean every time, you're not just completing a task. It's literally rewiring your brain. Fascinating, isn't it? Those old patterns you have, the limiting beliefs or habits you might not be proud of, are also just neural pathways. And here's the good news. You don't have to fight those old ways to change them. In fact, the secret is to let them weaken, building new ones in their place. When you try to force yourself to give up a habit, your brain tends to focus on it even more. It's like a quick test. Try not to think about pink elephants. What are you thinking about now? Pink elephants, of course. Don't they worry? It happens to all of us. So what to do? Instead of fighting the old ways, focus on creating new ones. For example, do you want to stop checking your cell phone as soon as you wake up? Don't try to suppress this impulse, because this will only make your brain think about your cell phone even more. Instead, establish a new morning routine. It could be something simple, like drinking a glass of water, stretching, or taking 3 deep breaths. Whatever works for you. And here's the magic. Every time you follow this new path, you're doing something extraordinary. It's not just building a habit, but creating new neural connections. Over time, the old path begins to disappear. Not because you fought it. In fact, fighting it only reinforces it, but because you simply stopped keeping it. active. That's the beauty of the process. Focusing on the new until the old loses its power on its own. Just as that old route to my old job disappeared from my mind when I started working from home, new routes also replace old ones in the brain. This is the secret to real and lasting change. There's no need to fight a battle against your past self. Just create new paths, consistent and small, step by step. The brain will do the rest. It was literally designed for this. So if you want proof of this, think about a habit you managed to change in the past. I'm sure you've experienced something like this before. And if you can, I'd love to hear about your experience in the comments. Chapter 2, the power of environmental design. Now that we understand how the brain creates and strengthens new pathways, let's explore a way to make this process almost automatic, adjusting the environment to our advantage. The key to transforming your life is not relying on motivation, nor relying on willpower. Instead, there is something much more efficient, the environment around you. Let's test this. Look around your room now. Every detail around you either brings you closer to your goals or takes you away from them. And the best part, you have full control over this. Think of a simple example from nature, water. It always follows the path of least resistance, flowing naturally downhill. And guess what? Your behavior works the same way. I saw this clearly in my own life. We naturally take the easiest path that the environment offers. Here's a practical example. Do you want to improve your diet? For a long time, I thought it was all about willpower, resisting the temptation to eat junk food at night. But do you know what really works? It doesn't depend on willpower. Just don't buy junk food. Because I'll tell you, something I learned from experience. At 10 p.m., when you're tired and stressed, willpower disappears. But you know what still works perfectly? The fact that there's no junk food in the house. I call this friction principle. It's incredibly simple. Make good habits easier and bad ones harder. Do you want to exercise more? Leave your workout clothes next to your bed the night before. Want to stop wasting time scrolling through social media? Delete apps from your phone. Make accessing your social networks require 3 extra steps. Remember how we talked about brain patterns before, connecting ideas naturally? Your environment is like a physical version of these patterns. Change the environment and you automatically change the patterns. Studies show that people who keep a fruit bowl visible consume 70% more fruit. Think about this for a moment. No effort or motivation is required, just smart environmental design. That's exactly what happened when I placed a bottle of water on my desk at work. Suddenly, I started drinking a lot more water without even realizing. I didn't know. Reshape or say, once you understand this principle, you can create success triggers anywhere. Want to read more? Place books on your coffee table. This is how I finally managed to make reading a consistent habit. Want to drink more water? Place water bottles. Everywhere you spend time, your environment is like an invisible force that is always shaping your behavior. When configured correctly, it works for you 24 hours a day, even when you're tired, stressed, or unmotivated. I'd love to hear in the comments what environmental changes have worked for you or what you plan to implement after learning this. Chapter 3. Energy is the main currency. Even the best planned environment needs an energy source to function, and this is where many people get lost. Everyone talks about time management, but there's something crucial that most ignore. You can't actually manage time. Time moves forward regardless of what we do. What you can manage is your energy. Now, tell me honestly, have you ever had a day with plenty of free time, but felt so exhausted that you couldn't do anything meaningful? Or maybe you've experienced the opposite, where you only had 30 minutes, but you were so energized that you managed to get more done in that time than you normally would in 3 hours. I see some of you agreeing. We've all been there. And here's what took me years to understand. Your energy isn't just a matter of being tired or awake. In fact, it is related to your ability to make changes, learn, grow, and advance. Unlike time, which we cannot control, energy is something that can be expanded. Think about this for a moment. Most people, and I've been guilty of this myself, have it completely backwards. They try to make the most of their time, trying harder, sleeping less, working more, but watch carefully. This almost always ends up going wrong. Think of your energy like a battery with a solar panel. Of course you can download it, we all do. this from time to time, but you can also recharge it. And even better, you can increase the capacity of that battery. Isn't it incredible? Your brain consumes 20% of your body's total energy. But during periods of intense focus, that number can rise to as high as 70%. That explains a lot, right? This is why you feel mentally exhausted after learning something new. Your brain is literally running a marathon. And recovery isn't just about rest, it's about strategic renewal. Those moments when you think you're not doing anything? Well, actually, something wonderful is happening. Your brain is consolidating learning, replenishing energy, and creating new neural connections. Incredible, isn't it? This completely changes the way we should plan our days. Instead of asking how we can fit more things into our time, which I used to do all the time, ask yourself, how can I align my tasks with my energy spikes? Do you have something to learn? Do this when your energy is highest. Need to be creative? Combine it with times when your mind is fresh. It's like surfing. You want to catch the wave at the right time. Remember how we talked about environmental design. Now, apply this same reasoning to your energy. Design your day around your natural energetic rhythms. Create renewal triggers, include recovery periods. Because here's what I've learned is absolutely true. When you master your energy, time takes care of itself. I'd planned to cover more today, but I believe it's best to keep these concepts digestible and actionable. If you found value in these insights into brain optimization and energy management, let me know in the comments below. Your feedback will help me create more videos in this series. Additionally, I'd love to hear how you plan to apply these energy management principles into your routine. And there's more. Subscribe to the channel. It's free, but it helps a lot to support the creation of this content, which can help you a lot in your personal development. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.